All right, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jordan Rouse, CEO of Set to Close, and I'm hosting To Bot or Not to Bot. And today we have the absolute pleasure of having Amarpreet Kalkat on here. He is the founder of Humantic AI, which is one of the game-changing technologies in AI profile intelligence, telling us who we're talking to, their personalities, all those good things. But I'm going to let him introduce himself and say hello. He's going to tell us a little bit about where this idea came from, and he's going to tell us what exactly Humantic AI is. So over to you, Mar, and thanks so much for joining us. All right, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jordan Rouse, CEO of Set to Close, and I'm hosting To Bot or Not to Bot. And today we have the absolute pleasure of having Amarpreet Kalkat on here. He is the founder of Humantic AI, which is one of the game-changing technologies in AI profile intelligence, telling us who we're talking to, their personalities, all those good things. But I'm going to let him introduce himself and say hello. He's going to tell us a little bit about where this idea came from, and he's going to tell us what exactly Humantic AI is. So over to you, Mar, and thanks so much for joining us. All right, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jordan Rouse, CEO of Set to Close, and I'm hosting To Bot or Not to Bot. And today we have the absolute pleasure of having Amarpreet Kalkat on here. He is the founder of Humantic AI, which is one of the game-changing technologies in AI profile intelligence, telling us who we're talking to, their personalities, all those good things. But I'm going to let him introduce himself and say hello. He's going to tell us a little bit about where this idea came from, and he's going to tell us what exactly Humantic AI is. So over to you, Mar, and thanks so much for joining us. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. It's a total pleasure. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed our interaction so far. I'm looking forward to deep diving today. So my name is Amarpreet Kalkat. I'm the founder, CEO of Humantic AI, as Jordan mentioned. Um, we provide something what we call buyer intelligence. So this is essentially, in very simple terms, a fundamentally deeper way of knowing your buyers, the people, the customers. It's not about the companies. We believe a lot in those people relationships, the human aspect of selling. So we'll come back to that. And so, Jordan, you mentioned how it started. So I think there's a little bit of a backstory. A couple of surprising facts as well. So one of them being, this is my second SaaS startup, but it's also my second AI startup. I have been doing AI startups for 10 plus years now, and that's not a made up number. So AI is the flavor of the season, but this is something that I have been doing for a little while. My last startup was um, when Forrester did its first ever list of what it called AI enabled consumer intelligence solutions. We were on that list. There were only 5 companies from our space. And Humantic AI too, we've had a fair share of kudos, so to speak. Now, how it actually started, what became Humantic AI started as part of my earlier startup, which was in the marketing analytics for B2C space. Similar, we're working with social data, trying to learn about things, people, pattern, trends, brands. We were trying to learn from what's happening on Twitter and Facebook and so on. And one of the things that we discovered, one of our product managers discovered, this is way back, this is actually a long time ago, 2015, pretty much, was a research paper or two that spoke about being able to predict behavior and personality from language use and social media data. So we experimented with that as a feature as part of my earlier startup. It was a nifty feature. It was just a cool feature. We weren't seeing much into that. Then over time, saw ourselves, we started using that feature when we were walking into a sales meeting, when we were walking into interview, when we were hiring a candidate, for example. And then there were 1 or 2 other startups we noticed that were doing something similar. They seem to be getting on a good path. So that eventually, then at some point, we said, wow, there's something here. What we can do for customers here, people seem to be seeing value. We are definitely seeing value. So then a couple of years ago, that came together as Humantic AI. And the Humantic AI, as I said, it's buyer intelligence that at the core has personality AI. That personality AI allows us to understand prospects very effectively before a seller has even spent a second with them. And now you can walk into any meeting, you can get on any email, significantly more than you could ever know without using Humantic AI. So any seller who cares about their buyers, who wants to know them, who wants to understand what matters to their buyers, Humantic AI is often done so.
Yeah, and just to sum it up, because I've been using your technology for a year now, and
Right.
one of the reasons I'm so interested in chatting with you is understanding your mindset around it. But I just want to explain to everyone, they basically it looks over social media, different accounts like LinkedIn, Twitter, different things, and then it can produce a disc profile. So either you're a driver, an analytical, a team person, an enthusiast, whatever it is, and they classify it in a bunch of different categories. I think there's like 32 different personalities or something like
36,
that.
right? Yeah.
30,
Yeah.
36. So 36 different personalities, and that allows you to understand, how do I customize emails? How do I customize my approach? But the cool thing is they can bring it into this one platform where you could have 5 buyers in a group and have all their personalities listed there. So like when I'm a salesperson, I walk into a room, I already know these people to a large degree with high confidence. And it's very reliable. With 1.2 billion people now on LinkedIn, the power of this is extraordinary to make an impact on a global scale. So that's one of the reasons I bring this up. It's just so people are apples to apples. Hey, you can just log into your HubSpot or your Salesforce or your LinkedIn, and you can pull up the information on that person's personality. And that's so powerful because I know how to give them information, how they receive information. We have our cold callers knowing how to pattern interrupt these individuals. There's so many cool features there that really are remarkable with your technology, Amar. And I really want people to visualize the impact of Humantic AI outside of
Right.
what I just said. Like, hey, that sounds really cool. I would love to
Yeah.
look at that. If you want to just reach out to Amar direct, Adam, he'll get you taking a look at the technology. But what are some big impacts you've had with companies lately that really stand out that you're proud of? Yeah, and just to sum it up, because I've been using your technology for a year now, and
Right.
one of the reasons I'm so interested in chatting with you is understanding your mindset around it. But I just want to explain to everyone, they basically it.
Yes, Jordan, let me share some examples. I think it's easy enough. All of us founders, we tend to think our product is the best product. So we'll rather use facts, figures, and feedback. Just to start it off, if you were to go on G2 today, right? G2 is a reasonably or fairly popular, platform to see where the products are, and you pull up the most popular sales AI solutions. We are number 3 in North America. This is across, I think, 300 or so products. In mid-market North America, we are actually number 2. Guess who's ahead of us? Salesforce. That's it. It's just Salesforce. And uh, technically, I mean, I won't really count that as competition, right? Salesforce is Salesforce. They are the platform. All of us are the players. So that's one. The first thing. If you look at some of the data, I think the customers across 300, 400 reviews, um, the ROI they say is less than 6 months. Time to get started is less than 1 day. Yeah, this is there on Humantic G2 page. So that's a starting point. That's where we are. We're lucky in many ways to have that kind of user adoption and love. Some data. Recently, one of our customers who'd been using us for a year plus. I think when their renewal was coming up, their team said, "Hey, budgets are very tight. We need to make sure there's ROI everywhere." So the question came up. They're a Nasdaq listed SaaS company. They do around $500 million in revenues, around 1,000 or so players. Very, very efficient. They looked at the data across, I think, 1,000 plus opportunities where Humantic AI had been leveraged by their sellers. Those opportunities had closed 37% more. Same pipe. This is same pipe, and we'll talk about that. Jordan, I think you've seen some impact in terms of top
Mhm.
of funnel. So I'm not even talking more pipe. I'm saying, here's the pipe. Give it to the sellers. They have to close it. When they used Humantic AI, their win rate was 37 higher percent than when they did not. So if you're closing $10 million in revenue, we are talking $3.7 million in more revenue that you will close. If you are putting Humantic AI to good enough use, this probably wasn't even best of the best use. That's one. Second one, this is a large Fortune 500 or Fortune 50 actually. They did a measurement exercise across 1 month where 20 of their sellers were using Humantic AI.
Mhm.
And they attributed, and these numbers are crazy, I wish they were smaller. They attributed $26 million in new pipe to Humantic AI. This was top of the funnel.
Oh.
And their take was that it was probably more. These are the deals where they could say with confidence that it was a Humantic suggested intervention. And what to, it's a little hard for people. Now I'll talk about, the challenges and struggles, but one of them is when you use Humantic AI, Humantic AI is an assistant, right? It is helping you learn more about prospects. Then you put it to use. We don't do that. It's a little hard for people to say, was it me? Was it Humantic AI? Right? And we all tend to attribute success to ourselves and failure to others. So if I come into this meeting, Jordan, and I have a great meeting with you, I'll say, oh, I'm so good. I'm so good with people. I just completely read Jordan. I just completely, uh, understood what he wanted. I spoke his language, etc. But how do we help you therefore understand Humantic AI's value? Very simple. We simply say, use Humantic AI for your stuck opportunities where everyone has enough stuck opportunities. You've been ghosted, people have gone cold on you, they're not responding, emails, calls, texts, love letters, you've done all of it. Use Humantic AI, do something that Humantic AI says. If it says be witty, crack a joke. If it says simply directly say, hey, look, I don't want to waste your time. Does this move the needle? Does this not? Do you want to move forward or not? That's all I need to know. Okay. If it says they work through their teams, therefore you say, look, you busy. Who on your team would be the right person? That's what you do. So those are two examples, Jordan, one top of funnel and one bottom of funnel that I can share. There's just so much more that I can share, but I think that gives probably the audience a good picture of what they can expect.
Yeah, hopefully it's enough to get them interested to come say hello, because at the end of the day,
Right. Yeah.
I'll give them my own attribution. My own attribution is this: like we installed Humantic a year ago, and we do a lot of account-based marketing. And if you guys don't know what that means, it's very specific address marketing to need types. And we'd always break it down by our ideal client profiles or ICPs. But now that we've been able to add personality to that, we've been able to write to the 4 major personality segments. I know you break it down by 36, but we break it
Right.
into the 4 majors. And that's seen about 140% increase in our click-through rates.
There you go.
So that's huge. And then as I can attest to the sales ratio, walking into a conversation and I know that person's a driver, or I know that person's an analytical, I know when to push, when not to push. I know how to do it. I know what feedback to give. And by doing that, I know when do I use use cases and data, and when do I use a little bit of fire, passion, and vision. And by being able to craft that, yeah, your closing ratios are going to go up. And that's the thing, is people have to realize this technology, by implementing it, the ROI can be one deal. For most people in our markets that have like deals that are north of $10,000, like you're going to have an ROI in a couple deals, in 1, 2, 3 deals. It only makes sense to investigate this now. And with AI moving the way it is, we have to go beyond what we did in the past, which was just ICPs. So this brings me to my next question. When do you
I have
think
a
oh, go
I have
ahead.
an interesting fact to add to this one. Let's see if you can take a guess. Do you know what's the largest deal that someone has attributed to Humantic AI and said, "Hey, Humantic AI brought this alive for me"? You want to take a shot? What's the largest? What's the biggest number?
$10 million.
60 million. 60.
Right. Nice.
$60 million is the largest one that I have seen so far, where someone said, at a $60 million opportunity, this is a large enterprise, obviously. We've been trying to, get this thing going. So they literally track something called heat maps, where they will say, this
Mhm.
is how hot the relationship between us and this particular, enterprise is. And then they start using Humantic AI, and one seller comes and says, I had this, relationship that just wasn't warming up, and finally got a meeting, and now we got a $60 million opportunity in play. So that's how significant. Personally, like I can literally recall 2 calls just from the last 24 hours, where There's a CEO, very fast moving. This is a large sales startup. They do billion plus in revenues. There's his chief product officer. We're talking some partnership, etc. Who Humantic says is a supporter. And because we were talking partnerships, and I was just joking, I said, "Hey, CPO, I'm not gonna push you at all because Humantic's already told me you like to take your time." So, and I know product roadmaps are not easy to maneuver around. So even if your CEO wants it done yesterday, you tell us, when can you get it done? Because it would have been just futile to just push it. And otherwise, as a salesperson, you'll just keep pushing it, and then you will, you'll waste too many opportunities if you just keep doing the same thing with everyone. So sorry, but that came to my mind. I thought that'll be an interesting number to share.
Yeah, like those are huge numbers. And that's what companies have to realize is like when they're looking at technologies, by having that one added piece of relationship building or data intelligence, it can really make or break things, especially on those. What I find is the initial discovery calls, it really helps. It
Oh
helps
yeah,
know who's in the room, who do I got to placate to, how do they receive information. And it also allowed me to customize my follow-ups afterwards. So I'm going to send a different email to an analytical person who is in the meeting versus the driver person who is in the meeting, right? And I'm going to separate those two. First off, because it makes them feel more important, like they're getting singled out. And
yeah.
second, because I deliver information in a different way. And so that was one of the main things. So I want to ask you this next question here. When do you think a company needs to consider using Humantic? How big do they have to be? What's the ideal kind of client type for you in the company?
Yeah, so I think that's both right. So I'll combine the when with who. Who's the right kind of a customer for us, and then when is the right time for them. What we've seen is that large deal sellers, companies that have larger deals, in a SaaS world that could be 50K, 100K. In a non-SaaS world that could be $1 million, $500,000. Those companies tend to see the results the best. Why? Because people matter critically in such roles. Relationships matter critically in such deals. So those companies tend to be our best results. Conceptually, if you see, we talk about personalization everywhere, knowing your buyers, being able to talk their language is always critical. You spoke about 140% better results. I'm not surprised. Our average impact on conversion is 109. So you obviously put it to better use than our average customer for sure. So conceptually it applies, but what we've seen is that with the larger opportunities, so far we used to say that we make sense if you already got at least like account intelligence, something like Zoom Info, Apollo, Sales Navigator in place. I think it still makes sense because you do need to know who your buyer is and which is the right prospect. Once you have that in place, and now the challenge is it's easy enough today to know who is the right person. Sales Nav will give you Zoom Info, Apollo. There's 500 solutions that'll give you that. How is what we bring in. Who and how. So when you combine the right how, this is how you engage this person. So that's a great point. Second one, what we've been seeing more recently is a lot of companies are trying to adopt more AI, and there are, we earlier used to say that maybe you need to have one or two AI solutions in place, but what we've been seeing is there's multiple opportunities where we become the first AI solution that has been deployed. So second, I would say if you're a company that's starting their AI journey or becoming serious about their AI journey, there's very few products that have as much impact as we do, that add that human element, that soul to selling, and it's literally just the right thing for your sellers to be learning long term, where you start putting your buyers first. It's all about putting your buyers first, especially in the age of AI. So those are two good reasons. If you sell large deals, Humantic will show very, very clear and very quick results. Second, if you are starting or accelerating your AI journey, there's very little that does better than us in terms of results now, as well as long-term learning and approach to selling that your sellers will walk away with.
Yeah, and I feel the same. I can verify what you said. Like I think if you're selling larger deals, and larger deals being, in the range of 5,000 or more on a monthly recurring or somewhere
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
aspect, this is a
right.
really good thing. Whereas
It's
a
a really good
professional
product.
service consultants, this works really well, especially
Yeah,
in large enterprise manufacturing deals. It's across the board. I feel like if I didn't have Humantic at this point, I would have a leg chopped off. That's literally how it
yeah,
goes. Because my next question is actually how is it changing the games and for buying groups or purchasing teams and
right.
working with them? Because we all know we're dealing with 3 to 7 individuals usually in a
Yes.
buying group. And can you walk us through how you kind of built that out in the back end and how that kind of changes the game for people?
Yeah, so one of our most popular features is something called buying committee maps. What you do is you take a group of people and you put them, together. It's very easy through a Chrome extension. You just add them. They just come together, on a grid. You can download that to a PDF. I've literally seen people walking into meetings with printouts of those and sharing them with their teammates, saying, "Hey, these are the people that we're meeting." So where and when and why does that become relevant? See, most sellers I keep seeing, they don't realize how many people are impacting their purchase decision behind the scenes. Sometimes I'll be talking to a company, they'll say, "We've got only three stakeholders." No, there's probably five more behind the scenes. Purchase decisions are made with a lot of consensus today. There's generally good bit of process involved. Not everyone comes to the table, and that's where the challenge is. Generally, interactions happen to be limited to two or three people, maybe one or two more people additionally, but there's five people who'll be behind the scenes. You'll never even get a chance to interact with them. With Humantic AI, for example, we coach you to work with your champions and saying, "Hey, champion, here's your VP of business ops, who's probably going to have a lot of questions around the science and accuracy of Humantic AI." And we believe that this white paper that explains the science is the best resource for them. So, and our champion just, what do? They forward that to that VP ops and saying, "Hey, we're talking to this company. We spoke about it earlier in that meeting. If you're wondering, here's a white paper." So being able to manage stakeholders, like, Gartner talks about that, a lot often, 12 people in a buying committee, a lot of behind the scenes activity. 80% of selling, they say, happens in rooms that you're not present, right? Because people are talking to each other. That capability of knowing who cares about what, where will they come from, who's going to say, "You know what, this is too risky right now," who's going to say, "Oh, wow, this looks great," and how do you reinforce that optimism? How do you handle that skepticism? So that's all buying committee maps. People you don't even interact with, everyone and what they care about. You can handle that if you have any level of access. You can have your champions handle them. Champions are too busy to figure it out themselves. And you are making sure that they're aligning with what you have to offer, and you're handling their concerns, and you're fanning their optimism where you can.
Yeah. The buying committees are so important to pay attention to. And I don't think enough people do it. They get one intro to a person, they get all excited. I'm going to a
They'll get
meeting,
all excited. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got a
right? But
meeting. Oh, I got this great guy. Yeah. No,
yeah, and
it doesn't work that way.
I always explain it like a family unit. Like when you have big decisions going on in your life, you're going to talk to your mom, your dad, your brother, your
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing in a company. That's what a buying group is. They're your trusted allies that are bringing forward and protecting the company and have their role. So when people
Yeah.
consider it like the same sort of unit, they start to move differently. And by understanding what their needs are, you can placate some of those issues before they arise. So this is a big question, and this is one I'd probably talk for a year on. Where is your AI profile intelligence headed? Like, what is on the roadmap in the next couple years for Humantic, and where do you really see the industry going after that point?
So I think it's just such a crazy time, such an exciting time, Jordan, with the whole Gen AI and LLMs and whatnot. There's just so much happening. I love it. It's a lot of change. It's a lot of uncertainty, but I love it. I think in general, it gets me very excited about the possibilities. I've no doubt that we will be able to navigate what is the year. So the two three big ones that I think we've already launched and fine tuned, for example, our LLM integration. That I think is a big one for people to pay attention to. Everyone's trying to use Gen AI LLMs, but we also realize that by default, Gen AI is very robotic, right? Very mechanical.
Mhm.
And so we call it the humantic flavored Gen AI. And the results of that are simply beautiful because we can tell Gen AI when to talk in what kind of language. Essentially, we're putting, like I said, the soul in AI, right? In many ways, because it's with Humantic, it's not going to give you those usual mechanical responses. I see quite a few companies trying to offer, personalization, AI SDRs, and whatnot, but we call that authentic versus superficial personalization. Adding one line about, hey, I loved your LinkedIn post about ABC, it's not going to work as well. It work a little bit, but not as well as when you're essentially talking their language and appealing to what they care about. So we're doing quite a bit of work on that front. I think on the personal level, we brought in a lot, but we want to bring in more company-related insights as well because those are important too. So that's one area that we will continue improving. We built many integration into tools that people use. I think that's the missing part from almost every tool. No one's paying enough attention. You have to put your product into the users, the seller's flow of work. You can't expect the seller to come to your platform. People don't have the time, and that's the single biggest thing I think our or the single biggest question our 98% of customers prospects don't ask. What is your adoption rate? Everyone says, Amarpreet, what is your ROI? We've got ROI, but adoption is the big challenge, especially in sales. Salespeople don't want one more tool. So we've spent a lot of time on that. If you look at our integrations into HubSpot, Jordan, you use that into SalesLoft, Outreach, Salesforce. They're beautiful. It's like as if it's a native feature. So that's a big part, So making fitting into users' flow of work and new tools, better approaches. And then finally, I think the big piece for us, what we call dynamic buyer intelligence. Right now, what we have is in some ways static. Hey, Jordan's like this. There's some elements that are dynamic, that change with time. They'll change every day or every month. But otherwise, a personality like we update it every 6 months. Personality doesn't change that often. It changes slowly. So we are bringing more intelligence of dynamic type. For example, when you're writing emails to someone, there's a lot that we can learn from those emails and what you write about and how you write about. So plugging that into our AI models. We're plugging in, for example, the Zoom calls, how someone sits, how someone talks. Like I'm talking a certain way, I have a certain level of energy. My audio, there's so much I can learn from audio, from video, from visual cues, from face expressions. So we are trying to learn more from that so that we can use that to provide more real-time buyer intelligence. Our focus will continue to be on the buyer. Our focus will continue to be on helping you know your buyers better so that your buyer has a better experience with you and hence buys more from you. So in that sense, that's one of our differences, big differences. Too many AI tools just focus on sellers becoming more productive. Hey, we will make your sellers more productive. We think that's not the only way to increase revenue. An even better way is to help your buyers, buy more from you, not help your sellers sell more, by creating better experience. And that starts by knowing them better. That starts by customizing your pitch, your solution, your offer, your language to them. So that's where we headed towards. These are the two, three big items for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really fun. Like your technology. And I just want to leave people with this. Like if you're in sales like me, I'm a bit of a sales nerd because that's what we run as a sales company, is I run two different modalities in sales. I'm going to have a challenger sale, which I love. That's my favorite, right? It's my natural way of doing things. And then I'm going to have gap selling. And gap selling's for the softer, they're the team people, the analytical people. You're going to definitely gap sell, but with enthusiasts and drivers, you're going to challenge sell, right? You're
Right.
going to keep the excitement high, the directness high. So, by knowing who you're walking into and knowing who the decision makers on, because ultimately, usually if you have a driver in the room and they want it, they're going to overpower everybody else. And
They'll do that. Exactly. Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
yep, right. So it's understanding that audience and walking in and being bold enough to move a sale, because I find a lot of people's sales cycles are pausing right now because, in all honesty, salespeople aren't brave enough. They're too worried about being liked, and they're less worried about being valuable. And I think that that's shifting. Like great salespeople have moved towards the other way, and they're in the challenger modality right now. But your software allows people to do that. So I want to encourage everybody, go grab Humantic AI, chat with Amar, add him on LinkedIn, get connected. He'll put you in contact with his team because they're growing really fast. As he said, his G2 is off the charts, but it's worth a try. I'm telling you, it was epic for our team, and they've been a great partner to us and always helped us and taken our developments into there. And Phil just threw one: seek real execs and plainly TOC. Yeah, exactly. It's all ROI based, because if we can convert more executives, as you're saying, Phil, into what we're doing, it just we make a ton more money. Like, it's just really simple. And this little piece of intelligence can be game changing, because first impressions are formed in 7 seconds. And so that initial impression that you can give, you can control it. And that little bit of control will accentuate your sales. As you said, you saw a 37% increase across engaged users within that one client. So I would say that's a pretty good average about what we've seen as well. And that'd be a good basis. So I want to encourage everybody. Amar, is there anywhere that people can follow you, that you kind of keep up with writings and stuff? Is it mainly LinkedIn, or is there anywhere else you want them to follow you?
Yeah, I think if you just search for Kalkat, Amarpreet Kalkat, LinkedIn is a great place. I did start running a Substack newsletter a few months ago. It's called Soul with AI. Again, I'm an AI nerd, so I talk about the intersection of sales and AI a lot. So if you go to Substack and look for Souls with AI, I think there's around 3,000 people who get that newsletter. That's a good place to get my thoughts. Right now I send it twice a month, and Twitter as well. So yeah. I discovered another Amarpreet Kalkat recently. Till 6 months ago, I used to say I'm the only Amarpreet Kalkat in the world. Now there's one more, seems to be in New Zealand. But I think it should still be pretty easy to find me. Fairly unique name there. Yeah.
100%. And I also encourage you guys to follow their LinkedIn page, which they keep updated there, and different things coming out. And just go take a trial of the technology. It's worth it. You guys will adopt it quickly. Give it to your best sellers. I always say that sales teams run best through FOMO, fear of missing out. And if you give it to the best and they improve their numbers, everybody else wants it. And it's like a fire that will run through your team. Anyways, Amar, I really appreciate you joining us. And thanks for everybody out there listening in.
Well, thank you for having me, Jordan. This was fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, and keep removing those revenue roadblocks. If you want more videos like this, follow our channel for fresh, new content every day. Check out our RevOps playlist, or how about this video chosen just for you? See you next time.